Any desire that was in my mind, I'll be back up. Therefore, I'll devote 10 minutes daily to myself, self-confidence. Lord, I pray you bring down these scriptures to my definition. I'll never stop time. Self-confidence towards the king. Fifth, I fully realize that no weapon position on the door that has been applied to be just. Therefore, I'll engage in no transactions that are unethical over the best. I'll succeed by attacking myself cooperation on peace. I'll be self-certain. My self-certain on the tap. Hate and self-certain. My self-certain and I know that name that success. I'll run me. I'll read them. Be myself. I'll sign my name to this and every what's the shame for me to not to action. I'll become self-reliant, self-first. Hurrah! 12 steps. This is the 12 step one. Standard wish. When followed the tactics of the positive fire. Guarantee 24 plus transaction day. And unprecedented personal growth and achieve. 1. I dedicate 1 hour daily towards building and protecting my self-confidence. 2. I practice and internalize my sales skills for minimum 1 hour each day. 3. I contact my spirit and influence by mail, by heart, and or person by email or word. 4. I make 100 plus contacts per week, 30 plus per day, by phone or person. 5. I follow up on my core money day. 6. I set my myself. 7. My point. 8. I love forever. Love is free. 9. All my forever. You and me. 5%. Everybody. Also, every time I contact everybody, 2 hours free work. 12. I am going to I'll lead not fall. I'll lead not fall. I'll believe not doubt. I'll believe not doubt. I'll create not destroy. I'll create not destroy. I am a force for good. I am a force for good. I am a leader. I am a leader. Defy the odds. Defy the odds. Set a new standard. Set a new standard. Step up. Step up. Step up. Step up. Step up. Step up. Opening affirmations. I am a professional salesperson who gives soul to soul. I use information to help my clients achieve their goals. I price my listings right. I focus on small wins every day. Real estate transactions are abundant in the market. My abilities make me succeed. I get stronger with every step. I'm the master of every situation. My confidence is unshakable because I live with integrity. I always have productive thoughts. I take excellent care of my body. I try to stay with abundance of energy. I am task-oriented. I set a clear priorities day. I know what I want and I get it. I attract and enjoy greater financial abundance each day. My gratitude gives me unlimited financial success. I think prosperous thoughts. I am prosperous. I handle my money wisely and I profit every day. Taking action is easy for me. I need to start each day. I enjoy being debt-free. I exercise daily. I enjoy helping my clients succeed. I eat healthy food. I am a real estate expert. That's why I expect to be there in respect. I confess, I will actually repent. I am commissioned to teach helping others. I ask to listen. Prospecting is good for my business. I call it spying to sell my own. Prospecting is teaching the one. I enjoy far off my S1. People are attracted to my enthusiasm. I use it on to see. I get mentally stronger than the quality. I'm an outstanding salesperson. I'm a power lady. I know how to succeed. I need positive time.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
Just so you didn't know, there's more snow on the south side. So, believe it or not. Glad to see everybody here. You guys were able to get here before I did, so excellent. Any victories, wins? Had a day off yesterday.
Got a closing today.
Closing good. Nice.
Right.
Congratulations. One of many.
Yes.
All right. We love that. Excellent. Anyone else?
I have another firework.
Perfect. Congratulations. You're on parade. I love that.
Thank you.
It's excellent. Nice.
Dustin's back.
Hello. Good morning.
Good to have you back. You're in the fold. All right. So. Really.
It's an interesting thing how everything works, but I had a sign call on a little property, come to find out they want to buy land. I go and I show them it's up in Midway, Weaver, and the land's not for him, but just because of my follow-up and the way I worked with him, even though it wasn't going to work out for that piece, he goes, but I have a new guy coming, he's moving from out of state, would you be willing to work with him? I said, absolutely, we're coming from North Carolina. And I get talking with them, and they'd have gone onto the Zap to 21 Online, and I didn't know her name. I only knew his name was Drew. So I'm glad for all of our different ways that we can, people can find us. He knew my name, you know, the guy that I went and shown, and I'd send him some information. But it was interesting because late one night, someone's on Zap sending me information, and I'm like really key to get on there right away. So I'm like, hey, I read her little text. I'm like, or it was an email because I went to her email through that process. There was no phone number, and I said, here I am. How can I help you? She replied, hey, my husband Drew, who I knew his name, is moving to Salt Lake. So I was right on top of it, and they're looking at up to $1.25 million.
Wow.
I'm like, bam.
Nice.
Well, they are looking at Holiday, but now they're just trying to figure out the area. But I went and I met them, and it will be cool, and it'll happen. It will happen. They're moving to Salt Lake between now and May, and I'm just like, you just never know, because I could have said, that lead's gone. He's not buying that piece of land, but you just never know. You always have to take the high road.
So this is another little plug on if you have not been using Zap.
Yeah.
It's a resource that you have access to. The cost of being here, it's at your fingertips. Jump on and use it. Obviously, it's huge. Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else? A couple.
I got another one another home under contract last night.
Nice.
Congratulations. Working on holiday.
Close, so.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Right here.
So I called someone on Saturday. It was actually the wrong number, but then I started talking to that guy anyways. I realized he told me he was like in chapter 13 and like he was getting ready to buy a home. So I referred him to the lender, and then he stopped me like twice saying like, oh, thank you so much, that I felt like I'm finally headed in the right direction. So that was cool.
That's awesome.
To have someone actually say thanks for calling.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that the skit that we often have to go through where we call the wrong number and just say,
Yeah.
well, oh, so sorry, call for
Yeah.
this reason, but
Yeah, I'm trying to get
by
better at
chance,
that.
are you interested in looking to buy or sell real estate? Great. Okay. That kind of leads in a little one of the things we want to talk about is we talk about knowledge is power. And you can take that from many different avenues that are there. But give me some examples where you personally have had that happen to you by the knowledge is power, what having some information, what that was able to do for you in your business.
Because I have investment properties,
Okay.
and just because I know how that all rolls, and self-directed IRAs, you can go on and on. But just knowing how I can help people with investment properties, because of my experiences, can help me
Okay.
be a better agent for those that are looking for investment properties.
Okay. There's several things you can take from that. I think one thing we know is just having your knowledge and experience in investment properties makes you more confident to talk about it.
Yes.
You're more apt to, You know, someone who's looking to get involved in investment properties. You're not as concerned about it. You already have some great suggestions, resources that will help them take the right decision when they're going forward. So absolutely. Thank you. Anyone else?
I was gonna say, just note the knowledge and the experience, I guess, of knowing that, I guess with real estate, the hardest thing is finding deals, right? So knowing that, putting in the effort and that the process works, just that knowledge and experience is huge.
Awesome. I think it's great. A couple of key things that come to mind is there are things that we face where we know we're going to be having to address certain issues. You know, the things that we do know. When we talk to people, we're going to be talking about things that they know they're going to be involved with. You know, can you qualify? What amount do you qualify for? What areas are you looking for? The expertise, you know, being able to handle objections. When they go under contract, are you going to be able to negotiate to get them either the best deal or even just be able to see the transaction through? There's certain things that we do know. Now there's certain things that we know we don't know. Okay? If, you know, using the example with Brenda Lee about investment properties, some of us may not have ever even worked with the client that deals with investment properties. May not even have the, personally, we may not even have dealt with investment properties, so the ability to answer questions that are tailored to that might be something that we don't know, and if we want to go into that type of business, we know that we probably need to find out more information about it to be helpful, right? Okay, then there's also that information that we don't know that we don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We know what we know what we don't know, but then we don't know what we don't know. Okay, that can be a little bit challenging, right? Because you want to be prepared for certain things that happen, and they want to also put us in the right frame of mind and direction when we're dealing with this business. Okay, so when situations like that happen, what are some examples of how you might handle something? You know, when you're faced with that, wow, that kind of just jumped down at me. I had no idea that was going to come across.
That's where the real knowledge is power, because none of it really is that big of a deal. You can sit in it, work through it, figure it out.
Kind of where you kind of hit the nail on the head right where I'm
Really, it's just the knowledge that you're competent, capable, and can work through it, or just dial down to Rob's extension and get the
Right?
Okay, that's kind of where we're going with this.
It's kind of like when I call you and I'm like, Rob, it's my first day in real estate. You do not know what you don't know, and when a client hits me with something, I'm not ashamed to say, that is a great question. I have no idea, but I'm going to find out. And that's what I tell Eric as a newer agent. I'm like, hey, there's nothing that can even stump you. Because you can say, you know what, that's a great question. Let me find out.
It's the only time that's fun anymore.
That is, that's
Yeah,
kind of
right.
fun. Like, oh my gosh. But it's not unusual for me to, you know, I've been in this business for years. And there's still things that like, oh my gosh. But I'm not going to try and fake it. I'm going to go, let me find out.
What's amazing is it's the most experienced agents that actually ask it like that. You know, let me find out.
That's where I was going to go is you got, and this is information for the newer licensee, because let's be honest, the newer licensee, there's a lot you don't know, right? It's a fire hose right now. You're taking in all kinds of information, and it's when you're going to be working with someone. Clearly, you want to be competent. You want to sound competent. You want to make sure that that person has trust and faith in what you're doing. And knowing that you're new in the industry, you're like, I don't know the answer to that, but I've got to make it sound like I do, right? You know, we're in sales. You got to fake it till you make it type thing. So there's a balance of where we are with this. And as Rick was talking about, those that are experienced, they they've been in the industry, they've got a lot of transactions under their belt, or at least some that are there. And so when they're faced with certain situations that they may or may not know the answer to, the key part is what Aaron was addressing, is the confidence that you may not know the answer right there at that time, but the confidence and certainty that you can actually get the answer. And that's where kind of this message is about, is a lot of the questions that I have never, ever personally experienced. And some of them I'm like, oh my gosh, that thought would never even would have crossed my mind that that's the situation that's in. And so when I'm faced with trying to answer these questions, many times it's new to me as well. But the same thing just goes, there are things that, okay, I know some background information, kind of with what Aaron was talking about. You've got some knowledge that helps you lead to determine an answer, right? We have, you take the contract. Simple little thing. There's information in the contract that we should all have knowledge to. It's when we're asked certain types of questions. We have a foundation that will help lead us to move us in the right direction. Now, it may only lead us so far, and we either haven't had a certain example, we haven't had an experience, we haven't had something that comes up, and so we can only go so far. But once we come to that kind of fork in the road, how do we choose to handle it? Do we just slide the paperwork across the table and just say, go ahead and sign it? Well, what does this mean? It's just this. And then we never really try to find out what it is and get our clients to fill it in? Or do we actually do the two examples and say, you know what, that's a great question. I don't know the answer, but I will get it. I'll find out and I'll get back with you. Wanda.
Especially, well, if you're new or if you're not, it's real important that if we don't have the answer, again, not to fake it, because we are representing that seller or that buyer. And if we don't have the answer and we fake it and really screw it up, then we're not doing our fiduciary responsibility by faking it and just hope we can make it right. And another thing is, for instance, Brenda Lee knows a lot about investments. If we're not educated in it, like for instance, I probably would not work with an investor, except maybe on a real small situation, but rather than lose that client, you're not losing that client if you give it to Brenda Lee. You'll probably get a referral fee, and isn't that better than again trying to plow through it and screw it up royally? You're gonna get something. You have to stop thinking all about the money and more about what you can do for that client. If you can't help them, find someone that can. And as new agents, take someone with you if you're nervous about, brand new agent. Take someone with you that knows what they're doing and have them help you.
Love it. Well said. Thank you.
It's just like on commercial properties. I've never touched a commercial property. I would absolutely refer that, not even a thought.
It's good to, there's several ways that you can look at those when you're getting those examples of, if you try to do this commercial transaction and it fails, never happens, you get 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
Versus if you refer to someone that actually does it very well, you get a percentage of something. The thing that I wanted to get out of this is every single one of you have knowledge that you may or may not know. You are, the first thing that you know that you should be doing, we have several examples of people that are doing this, talk to people. You're going to be asked questions that you do not know the answers to. So for those that are new, it's okay to say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that question. And if you say it with confidence, it's weird, but think about that. If you say it with confidence that you don't know the answer, but you're confident in the ability to get the answer, your clients are going to have no problem with that. They're going to actually respect you. They're going to know that the fact that, wow, okay, I like what she's doing. I feel comfortable that they're they don't have all the answers, but they know that they can get it. Remember, you've got a lot of resources, especially if you're new, that the people that are running this business have done thousands of transactions that are being done. There's more than likely you're going to have someone that you're going to be able to go ahead and get your questions answered. And the same thing when you're in experience. You know what? People sometimes think with their experience that they should know the answer. Maybe they should. But if they don't, it's okay. Be confident in the fact that you know that you can get the answer to your question and then move forward. Your ability to be certain, your ability to lead your clients to the transaction is what is going to generate whether or not this transaction is successful or unsuccessful. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, any other thoughts?
There's many times when I think, well, I have the answer. I have my own answer, but I like to throw it off. And Rob and Rick have been invaluable. Like, I'm like, okay, here's the situation. What do you think? And when I get other people's opinions, it just, and I will tell my client, hey, I've gone to my broker. I wanted to get their opinion. And they love that.
Many times people think that I don't go to people to bounce ideas off of. And that is completely false. And I get a lot of phone calls, it is true. Sometimes I have to just tell people, yes, Brenda Lee, this may be your first time in the business. No, just trust yourself. I'm glad I want phone calls. That's not the message here. Making sure that you guys feel good about it, because if it's in advance, we can help you when you're moving forward. It's when the problem's already done and you're trying to see if there's anything we can do. Usually there's not. It's too late at that point. So definitely make sure you're called. But many times some people I know that they just need that reassurance, and so that's the purpose of it. But there's same examples where I have. I mean, I bounced one off with Matt a week or two ago. So this was one of my own listings. I had the opportunity to be a limited agent on both transactions, and I'm one of the few people that I would prefer to be the limited agent on that. Not just because you get double the compensation, is the fact that I believe that I will handle the transaction better than most agents. And so if I'm able to be in control, that's why I'm very, you'd say confident, but just want to make sure that I want that control. Well, this is the first time when the situation that rose where the buyer wanted me to represent them, and I just didn't feel as confident that the buyer was going to offer a price that they needed to offer. And we already had an offer on the listing, and there was an escalation clause. For those of you that don't know what that is, the price will bump up to a certain amount. Well, because I didn't think that the buyer that was going to be wanting me to represent him as well get their price up to where they needed to be, my thinking what was going to happen is this buyer wanted me to represent him. They weren't going to make as high of a price offer that they needed to. They were going to miss out on the transaction anyway, and they were to come back and in essence blame me that they didn't get the property. And there were things that were leading up to it. It just did not feel right. And so first obligation that I had was to who? To the seller. I mean, as I'm talking with the buyer tells me this on the phone. I give you verbal offer, say, you're representing me, I want you to write up an offer and submit it for this price. That's what he tells me on the phone. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to first talk with my seller, make sure how things are. And after talking with the seller, we came to the same conclusion. And I went back to the buyer and just said, sorry, my seller's not okay with me representing both sides. You have the right to you can put you with another agent of the company, or you can find any other agent you'd like. And they're like, really? Totally surprised. But that was something that, first off, I talked with Matt about it. I said, hey, these are my concerns. Da-da-da-da-da. Am I missing anything? Can you think of anything that I'm missing? And it was just more so, whether it be reassurance or just want to be cautious of the fact of, you know what? It's two heads are better than one. And we were thinking, okay, the best way to lie it out. And we bounced the idea off our head. And long story short, my concerns were turned out to be valid. They didn't make the offer with the way that they needed it to be. it brought the escalation clause into effect, and buyer number 1 wasn't going to be there. So, or buyer number 2, and I know they would have come back and said something. So they weren't in the equation. My seller was not harmed by any means, and they got a better offer the way that it was done, and seller's completely pleased in how everything transpired.
Even a skilled surgeon consults with another skilled surgeon in anything that
Different
they're
ideas.
doing. I mean, it's so vital that we are not afraid to ask another person, how do they see it? What's their thoughts? Because again, like you were saying, 2 heads are better than 1.
The knowledge is power. There are many ways for you to gain that knowledge, whether it be validating, getting confident by talking to somebody else. The knowledge is power. The more that you can acquire, the better off it's going to be. Okay, I saw another hand somewhere over here. I don't think they have a question. It was you?
I was just gonna say that I appreciate this as a new agent because I feel comfortable asking for help, but sometimes I'm like, man, I feel like I shouldn't be asking for as much help. But then I remember that I'm brand new, so I appreciate this today.
No, absolutely. I'd rather have you ask a question than afterwards you and I talk because we have to talk about a potential lawsuit. That one I guarantee you'll probably sit back and say, I wish I would have asked a question.
I'd
So
much rather ask a question.
ask a question. That is definitely one of what I'd rather have you do. So any other comments? Okay, let's make it a great day and let's move forward. Alright, I succeed because I act my goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to new people. I know what's important to me. I remember people's names. I'm a daily plan, I follow it. I'm passionate about real estate. I know consistency like a tool. I like asking questions, listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills. My thoughts and my emotions, actions, results. I focus on my duties daily. I presentation power, spacing, and improve my skills daily. I'm happy. I love to prospect and use my business. I see my future is awesome. I love my life. I'm grateful, thankful. I enjoy my reading. I believe in me. I know what I'm saying. I use my faith, confidence, and skill. I get things done. I'm fast. I connect with people. People love me. I love others. I'm just going to know what they expect. I prospect daily. I never want to be daily. I'm fast and persuader. I achieve my goals. I'm a real estate entrepreneur. I'm passionate about my life. I live every day in purpose. I'm confident in my self-skill. I know my head. I'm out of control. I'm powerful. I'm unstoppable. I need fun, exciting, fun. Yes! Morning, morning, morning. Morning, morning. Morning, morning. Morning, morning.
Yes, I
Had a bunch of snow.